My boyfriend put me down repeatedly during a party and I haven't been able to sleep. Don't know what to do, but I won't live like this if this is going to become a new thing. Plus update. We have been dating for a little over a year, but we were friends for 3 years before that. He was never like this before now and I don't know where it's coming from, but it just makes me so upset. We had some friends and some new people we were trying to get to know over, and at one point, I guess as an icebreaker, someone brought up favorite movies and we all started giving top threes, while oohing and awing appropriately, as well as oh I haven't seen that one, what is it about, and similar. Well, when it got to me, I listed them and my boyfriend who had been drinking to be fair, started laughing and talking about how bad each of them were respectively, and I tried to laugh along, but then he was, like, laughing at me, and saying so you admit you have bad taste? You admit your taste sucks? Why do I ever let you pick movies again? And would not drop it. Like, someone had already tried to continue to their favorites, and he just circled it back like, see how those movies are actually worth watching? I mean what were you thinking? Just laughing his head off again and again. It got ridiculous. Like whenever I went to make popcorn, he side-eyed me and asked the group if they thought I could handle that alone. Not the last time he brought it up. He continued to randomly make fun of me throughout the night, no matter what we were talking about at that moment, and eventually even the other people there started getting uncomfortable with the comments. I don't know if he didn't notice that or what, but I was so embarrassed that at one point I had to excuse myself to the restroom to calm down. After they left, I asked him what that was about and he just looked at me all confused, and when I explained he asked if I was really going to make a big deal about some jokes and rolled his eyes before going to bed. To give you context, because I know it seems like I'm freaking out over nothing, more than one of the people invited have reached out to me to ask if everything is okay, and if he and I are fighting, because his behavior was so uncharacteristically mean-spirited. I haven't responded to any of them yet because I'm so freaking embarrassed and upset. Like why the F would he act like that? Part of me feels like he was genuinely trying to joke, but alcohol made him overshoot into being a jerk. But if we don't have a real conversation when he wakes up, I'm done. I grew up in a house where I was always the butt of the joke and I'm not going to spend my adult life in that situation as well. I can't. Update. I woke up after finally falling asleep when he went to work. I was still at his place, and woke up the next morning to a couple dozen messages from him, and calls, all apologizing, all seeming pretty panicked, which if you knew his history was reason for alarm. Searched the house but he wasn't home. I called him back to find him at his friend's house. I was still at his place, and a lot of his panic attack ramblings made it sound like he had 3 reasons for not coming back to his place after his shift. He didn't want me to wake up with him there because he was scared it would make me uncomfortable. He needed someone to talk to right then and didn't want to wake me. Valid. And I'm thankful I needed the sleep. He wasn't sure he could face what he thought was an inevitable breakup in that frame of mind. It was pretty clear that his anxiety had gotten a hold of him, and he wasn't handling it well at all. But by the time he got home, he was calm. I made us coffee, and we sat down and talked. His version of events was that when he started making the jokes everyone laughed, and he thought I genuinely didn't mind, and by the time it seemed everyone was uncomfortable with them, he was too far gone to notice. He did not remember our brief discussion after everyone left but didn't deny he said it. He basically said, yeah, I guess in the frame of mind I was in, that makes sense. He also apologized profusely, and repeatedly. He looked close to tears the entire time, though he never actually cried, and had a hard time keeping eye contact. I told him it really upset me, and that he knew my history and why I didn't want to be made into a joke by someone who was supposed to love me. He agreed vehemently and said he understood entirely, and all he wanted was a chance to apologize and make it up to me. I asked how he planned to do that, and he said he was going to stop drinking, period. Something I wasn't too surprised to hear was on the table. He hardly ever drinks. He said on top of that, he was going to offer to sit down and watch all of the movies on my list with me since he hadn't actually seen 3 of the 4, but he understood if I didn't want to watch them with him. I explained about the text messages, and he was horrified, and said he would reach out to everyone we invited and apologize personally. I was pretty satisfied at this point, and just happy to call it a fluke, though I did express to him that I had considered leaving when he said what he said about it being a joke, and that if it happened again, I couldn't promise I wouldn't. We did end up watching 2 of the movies he hadn't seen, and the other 2 are also on the docket. He didn't love Creep 2, he liked the first one better, but he was pleasantly surprised by Bonnie and Clyde, and he took me out for Indian food as well, a real treat, because as he will tell you himself he has pilgrim taste buds, and since I'm the non-fussy one in the relationship most of the time we go out, it's for burgers or chicken tendies. I've forgiven him, and I know a lot of people disagree with that idea, but I'm no saint either, or I'd hate for him to judge our relationship based on the worst thing I've ever done, so I won't do that to him, especially not when he's so willing to ensure nothing similar will ever happen again. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, and if it became a pattern I would leave, but one bad night isn't enough for me to throw away 3 years of friendship, and 1 year of an amazing relationship.